We are recording and we're live on Las Vegas Tri Club Facebook page. Hey, Ted. Friday night.
It is Friday night.
Going into the weekend.
It's our last weekend of not having longer evenings, right? So daylight savings time ends or starts next weekend. So so this is it, and it's supposed to be windy tomorrow, but nice on Sunday. So
good.
Get your bikes ready for Sunday's long ride. It's supposed to be really nice. 75, I think they said on Sunday. So
love this time of year.
When it's not windy.
Yep.
I was out today for a ride and got away a little bit this afternoon, and I was out there and I was like, man, it is so perfect. The wind was down, the temperature was just perfect. And I was like, yeah, this is why we live here, is days like today. And yeah, and you're right, in this time of year for sure. So that means must be good trailer building weather.
Yeah, it's great trailer building weather. I just haven't had time. So
maybe tomorrow.
Trying to do a little bit. Yeah, I'll try to do a little bit this weekend. And but yeah, it's time has been a little bit of a premium the last 2 weeks. So a lot of things sort of jumping in and sort of filling up my schedule, which is all good, but less time.
So last time we spoke, you were mentioning that you may have to, you put up one of the skins on your trailer and now you might have to take it down. Did you end up having to take it off?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to put up the other side and then I'll see how close they match or how badly they match and then make a decision at that point. So I haven't taken it down. I decided to leave it up because it's a bunch of staples I put in, which is stupid on me, but it's all learning, just
I was thinking about you and your trailer, and then you're probably doing a lot less tinkering on your bike.
Oh, you know what? I love it. I love tinkering on the bike. I love just doing a little adjustments on the bike. That's good. Yep. And so it's a lot like that, but times 100. So it's interesting, but I am able to sit in the trailer and do some work at the table. So the inside is pretty much done. It's just getting the outside up and running. So
good.
Well, it's been interesting.
So I competed in the Zwift duathlon this week and finally got everything to work. It was week 3, and finally got the bike and the run to count. So that was a bonus. I've struggled with getting the run connected. So finally got that. It was it's pretty fun. There's a few other people in the club that have been doing it.
Yep.
I encourage anyone else that's listening to give it a try. There's 3 more weeks of the first season. It's on Wednesday nights. Well, you can do it on Wednesday at 3 p.m. There's morning times too. I think it's every 4 hours. So 11 a.m., 3 p.m., 7 p.m.
Okay.
So it works like this. You ride for 35 minutes in a time trial. So no drafting. And then you get a 10-minute break for transition. And then you hop on your treadmill, or you can go outside. You can run outside as long as you keep you have to have like your Zwift going on your phone. You can just hold your phone and you can actually do it outside as well. So if you don't have a treadmill.
Interesting.
And then so you run for 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then they score it. It's really smart how they score it. I really like it, actually. So on the bike, for every 5 meters you go, you get 1 point.
Oh, okay.
And so I did 25K this week, so I got 5,000 points.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the run, so it's 15 minutes. Every 1 meter is 5 points.
Okay.
So I did just under 4K, so I think I ended up with just under 4,000 points. And then they add it together. So it's based off of time and then distance covered.
Okay.
It's pretty smart, because then everyone finishes at the same time, everyone starts at the same time, and it's just literally like how far you go.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, this is season 1. I've already heard that there's going to be a season 2. So
what's the trick to? I haven't used Zwift for running. How do you do that?
so you need, there's a few things you could do to let it know how far you're running. So there's foot pods.
Mm-hmm.
So, like Garmin's got the Garmin foot pod. Other companies have foot pods. Zwift sells a foot pod. Some watches, like the Garmin 945 that I have, it can actually transmit a virtual run. So that one can do it. Some of the heart rate monitors, I think the Wahoo Ticker can do it as well, can transmit it. So you just need something to transmit how fast you're going. And then you can calibrate it, which you should do. You calibrate before you go. Kind of like the trainer you calibrate. You calibrate the run against the known distance.
Oh, okay. Outside or no, on your treadmill?
On your treadmill.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So it's meant to be done on a treadmill, but once again, like there's a hack to do it, so you could do it outside. I've done my first 3 on a treadmill, but I do know that if I didn't have a treadmill, I could just go outside and run for 15 minutes. But it is so interesting, when you do racing online, how hard you go. Like I set all my new records during a race. Like
really interesting.
Like, and like this week on the time trial, I didn't do as well as the week before, but I averaged like 280 watts for 35 minutes.
That's awesome.
It's pretty good for me. And even like our time trial we did outside, I didn't get that amount. But the difference is like you're seeing other people. Yeah. And someone comes past you and it's just like, oh man, I can't let that guy just kind of drift away. Yeah. I got to get behind him. I'm not even looking at my wattage. I'm just looking at, I don't want to lose this guy. Or you see another guy and he's like 5 seconds up the road and you got 5 minutes left. And like, okay, 1 second per minute. If I can catch him. And
how many other people are doing the race at the same time?
180, I think, were in my group this time.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a lot of people.
And is it anyone signs up, or is this a category, or is it okay?
So you just sign up for a time, and then afterwards they break it down by age group.
Okay.
So you're in like the time, like I'm in the 3 p.m. slot is when I've been doing it. So that's my start time, and you go with everyone that goes. And then at the end, they take everybody in the world that does it and they put them into the age groups. Okay. So I could be competing with somebody that started at 7 p.m.
Oh, right. Okay.
It doesn't matter. Which is pretty good, because I think in my age group there's like over 200 people that are in the series. And once again, it's just another thing, like potentially I would have like a Wednesday night, for example, and maybe I'll do an FTP session on the trainer. Yeah, right. Well, I don't need to, because this is doing it for me. And the one other thing we've talked a little bit about this is running fast sometimes. Like the neural side of running. Yeah. Where it's, just the foot turnover, like it's really hard to get me to run like 6:15 pace or faster. Because the damage it does, like especially outside, it's and mentally it's hard to do. And so for me personally, I think it's actually going to be the running that is this 15 minutes a week is going to help more than anything. And once again, it's the neural component of the running. It's not the fitness side. Yeah, no, that's great. And I do think, especially with our, who knows, maybe we were able to do our Tri-Club event on April 3rd. And if we're going to do that, we definitely want to do some high speed stuff before that. Not necessarily for the fitness impact, but just the neural, as how do you got to remember how to run fast. Yeah, I think I've tried to run fast and I don't know how long now. Well, before I did this, it probably was when we were doing, when virtual racing started. I was probably did the first 8 of those, and then that's kind of stupid, and I didn't do it anymore. But it's been a long time, since the duathlon was the only other time I ran fast then. But yeah, you have to run fast sometimes to be able to run fast. Yeah. And it's interesting. Do you know on your watch or on Garmin or whatever program you have it tells you your estimated times for races? No. Oh, I haven't looked at them. So
I knew they had that, but I haven't looked at them.
so mine says that my 5K should be 16:20.
Nice.
Not nice because I can't do it.
What's
Okay,
it based on?
it's based off of my training. Like every run
Okay.
I do gets put into their database, and they look at my
Interesting.
VO2 and my
Mhm.
heart rate, my max heart rate, and there's formulas, right? My half marathon is almost exact what I think I could do.
Okay.
So what that tells me is I have the aerobic capacity to run a 5K in the 16s.
Hmm.
Well, I've never done it,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And I think it's because I haven't had the
Mm.
neural side.
Gotta get down on our body weight support treadmill and do some high speed
I think
running.
I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, don't tell anybody at Zwift duathlon that I'm running an
Oh,
Alter G.
there you go. That's the way to do it.
I actually haven't done it yet, but I was like, if my legs ever really feel bad one day, I'm gonna hop on the Alter G, take 30% of my body weight away,
Yeah.
and just let my legs
Yeah, I
spin.
think I ran one time 3 hours at 50% body weight. When I got done, I was like, yeah, what did I just do? It's really interesting.
Did I do anything?
I don't think I got any physiological benefit. So
You might have got a neurologic one though, right?
maybe neuro, yeah, but 50% body weight. I mean, it's amazing how much that's actually a lot of weight to take off.
That's a lot of weight to take
So,
off. Can you imagine adding 50% to your body weight and then
oh,
trying to run? It'd be impossible.
no, no.
It'd be hard to walk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, I think that's it's interesting when we look at that, and oftentimes, especially when you look at we've talked a lot about polarized training,
Hmm.
that we sometimes still miss that the fast needs to be fast.
Yeah. Right.
And I do the fast on the bike, but I don't always do it running because it beats you up.
Yeah. So, okay, now that's interesting because and we're going to talk about training camps because now I'm interested in this. I have not been to a triathlon training camp, but how do you approach a training camp? And I know you do your own camp.
Mhm. Yep.
How do you approach the training camp in a way that you exit with benefits and you didn't just increase your risk of injury?
Yeah. So it's perfect because I was prepared for this is what I was going to talk about.
Oh,
So one of the things I think is really important when you get into a training camp, and just so everybody knows, like I do run my own training camps by myself. I coach myself and I do it by myself. That being said, I would, if anyone wants a little bit of advice, I'm going to give it to you now on how to do this. But so, we're fortunate that we get spring break. So I always do a training camp spring break. I always do a training camp the week before Christmas.
mhm,
Those are kind of my two main times to do a training camp. And then usually pre-COVID times, I'd usually do a week in the summer as well.
okay.
And my idea of doing a training camp is to basically just change the environment.
Mm.
Like I could do it here, but doing it somewhere different and sequestering yourself somewhere where you know that that's the focus is, I think, one of the things that you should do if you can. Historically, when I went to a training camp, I actually just went by myself. Recently, I've invited Cosmo and Marie.
Yeah.
So, and because I don't, we've talked a little bit about that, but Cosmo is my running buddy now, and he's training. He wants to build up to a good half marathon time. He thinks he can get under 1:30 in a half marathon, and so we're working on it.
He's a good training dog.
He's a really good training dog. Sometimes I push him too hard. I'm not gonna lie. His TSS score sometimes gets a little bit off because in the morning my wife takes him and for walks, and oftentimes she lets him go into a wash. And depending on the bunny situation, he does a lot of intervals that I don't calculate into his TSS. Right, and
Does
so
Cosmo have a Strava page or?
I have an extra watch. I need to just put it on and have his own Strava page, and then I could and then a Training Peak, so I could actually calculate his TSS.
Yeah.
So anyway, so now Cosmo comes and Marie comes
Yeah.
as well, which is nice. But I still really I focused that week on something. right?
Mhm.
And it's different. Like my December one is different than my spring one, right? So the spring coming up, I'm all in for St. George right now, even
Okay.
though it's not like the prime race of the year for me, but it's been a long time since I've raced,
Yeah.
right? So I want, and I'm in good shape right now. Like I want to continue that along and have a good showing at St. George. So, the focus will be a little bit different. Obviously in December, the focus is more just base miles, right? Like just get out somewhere different, warmer, because I usually go to San Diego or LA or Tucson this year, somewhere a little bit warmer, and just get out and do base miles. But this time there'll be an actual focus, and the focus will be number one, being doing some hills, to be honest with you, because St. George is a hilly course, right? There's no denying that, both with the run and the swim. The other thing is I haven't really swam in any cold water.
Mm.
So I'm going to bring the wetsuit, jump in the ocean a little bit, even though I know it's going to be pretty dang cold down there.
Right.
But I think that's an important thing to do. But in regard to making sure I don't get injured, because I have injured myself at a spring training camp before.
Okay.
Number one thing now is be smart and look at my TSS where it's been. So I'm on basically I did a bunch of base work this winter and I'm on a build cycle right now. And my TSS per week is right around 1,000 for the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to go more than 20% higher than that. So
Okay.
it'll be overreaching, but not not so much. I think it's 3 or 4 years ago I did one where I wasn't prepared. I wasn't in a good enough spot to do the numbers, and I think I did 1,400 TSS the week I got hurt, and I was probably about an 800 going in. So it was too much of a load.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I think is really important is the week before is to have a rest week, right? So kind of allow yourself to recover. So after this Sunday, so I'm my training camp is not this next week, but the week after. So this next week will be an easy week as far as TSS score, like something like a 600, a 500, or 600 this week will be it, and then double it for that week, and then also have an easier week the week after.
Okay.
I think that's important as well. The other thing that's really important is, and this is getting into the actual day-to-day planning of a training camp, is to try to, number one, well, it depends on how long you're going for. So I'm doing a week.
Okay.
So I'm going to have a day of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't built it completely yet, but so either Wednesday or Thursday will be nothing. It'll be a complete recovery day. I'll walk, I'll go for a walk on the beach or something like that, because I'm going down to San Diego.
Yep.
But there'll be no training one day. And then the other days, and this is also really important, I think, is when you do plan one of these, to not try and do anything else.
Okay.
I've read a lot of people's training camp stuff and their blogs and things like that, and that's something that some people try and do. They go somewhere that they've never been before, and they want to sightsee, and they want to go on this hike, and they want to do this and this and this and this. And when you go on, in my experience, when I do a training camp, to be the best you can be, you really just need to focus on that, and then recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when you're not on your bike or you're not running, your legs are up. You bring your foam roller. I bring my foam roller and a yoga mat. I bring my recovery boots with me. I bring my electric stim, all the little recovery tools that I have. And I think that's important. The other thing I think is really crucial to staying healthy is you've got to do what it takes to get the calories in.
Mm.
Because you can easily on these camps, especially if you're doing, for me, most of the days I'll do 2 things in one day, except for a couple of days I'll do some 100, 110, 120 mile rides. I won't do anything with that, but you could easily burn 5,000 or 6,000 calories a day.
Right.
And it's hard. It's hard to get those calories in. So you got to plan.
Okay.
You,
So
you,
let's
you plan ahead.
tease the details in on that a little bit.
Yeah.
So, because you're right, that's so important. Talk about your nutrition that you take for exercise, like what how do you pack, what do you pack
Yeah.
for the bike, the run, and or swim?
Yep. So honestly, I'm mostly concerned with the bike because
Oh,
even on my long run, um, I don't really take much because like my long run is only like an hour and 20 minutes maybe. So so it's more about the having something before and having something after. Same with the swim, something before, something after. The bike is the key because like 4 or 5 hours on the bike, and remember like oftentimes you're in places where you're not familiar, so you
yeah.
don't know where somewhere safe is to like stop. And so yeah, I'm very conscious of what I bring with me.
Okay.
So I try and bring something for every hour. And what I
Mhm.
mean by that is like some like a Cliff Bar or granola bar, or my wife makes unbelievably awesome cookies. And then I try to make sure to eat something solid once an hour.
Okay.
And then I usually do 3 bottles of water
Hmm.
or drink, like usually not water, usually something with calories in it.
Yeah.
And so I only, I only can fit 2 on my bike, and I usually put 1 in my back. Because I've actually found, especially like the last couple when it's been COVID, there's been a lot of places where the fountains are turned off.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because yeah, well, I was going to say because, and then I thought I knew the answer, but I don't know the answer. But but there are a lot of water fountains even in buildings,
Yep.
and that I know because they're not flushing the water out as frequently because they're
Yep.
not being used as frequently, and so they're trying to avoid stagnant water. But I don't know about the outdoor ones. That doesn't.
Yeah, even the outdoor ones, it's a challenge to get water. So that's the other thing is when I'm on the long ride, especially if I'm on a camp like this. Once I'm down, like once I finish my second bottle, I'm starting to look,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because remember, you're in areas that you don't know. Like I have them mapped out. I think we did a thing on building maps
Mm-hmm.
for when you're in unfamiliar places. And I try to sometimes build those maps that I go by parks,
Mm-hmm.
and then I start looking at the park for a fountain or even like a public bathroom. I don't care. I can fill up my bottle
Right.
anywhere. And then, eventually you get desperate enough, I'll walk my bike into a 7-Eleven. I don't care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, eventually that's where I'll end up. But 3 bottles get you a long way, especially this time of year.
Yeah.
You know,
So are you mostly solid foods on the bike now, or you're not putting nutrition in your water? Okay.
um, no, I put nutrition in my water. I do like
Okay.
just different powders like
Okay.
Scratch, Gatorade, or something like that. But I keep mine pretty weak. I don't like it
Mhm.
super sweet. It's
Yeah.
more of a taste thing.
Right. Yeah.
And I think we've talked about it before, but like I eat Reese's Pieces and jelly beans and M&Ms. I have them in my little bento box, and
Hmm.
I'm constantly just having a few bites. And
Hmm.
uh, you know that's in we've talked a little bit about the physiology of nutrition and what happens during long rides when you eat carbohydrates.
Hmm.
It basically instantly turns into energy. It's good
Yeah.
stuff.
Right.
It's good stuff for you.
Hmm.
And I still feel guilty sometimes eating that many Reese's, but it's okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I buy them in bulk. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, when you're biking that much. Okay. So then let's switch gears and talk about regular meals because you're talking about going someplace, like you said, you may not be familiar with.
Yep.
So you don't know the landscape in terms of food availability.
Yeah.
And, with right now with COVID-19, you don't know what's open, what's not open. So
So
what
I
do you do
plan
for
on
meals?
cooking everything at home. So I do Airbnbs.
You know,
And so when I look at the Airbnb, number one, it's got to have a kitchen. Well, number one, it has be able to have a dog.
mhm,
That's not non-negotiable right now. But then got to have a kitchen. I bring my own pans because there's some bad pans out there. I bring my own knives.
yeah,
And then, the first day I'm there, just go to the grocery store, whatever's closest, and I buy a bunch of frozen vegetables that are all cut up. Broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, whatever. And then buy a bunch of frozen proteins,
Mm-hmm.
beefs, porks, chickens, whatever. That's, easy. Because that's the other thing is like, you don't want to be spending all this time standing up cooking, but you want to eat healthy.
Yeah.
Like, so there's, it's not always the easy thing to do, but, you can get like, frozen carnitas and frozen pre-cooked chicken and
Mhm.
you throw it in a frying pan with some vegetables and it's
Mhm.
really easy and you get yourself a meal in like 20 minutes.
Yep.
Because especially now, like I do not feel comfortable in a restaurant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just don't.
Right.
Now I might do some takeout, grab a pizza one night, grab
Right.
some tacos or something like local
Mm-hmm.
night as well. But yeah, and the other thing is you don't really usually even eat lunch, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
especially on the long days, you're on the go,
Yeah,
and
that's true.
so the lunch may just be Cliff bars and granola bars and that kind of thing, like portable.
So you go and you buy local there.
Mhm.
Is there, some things that you pack
Yep,
that
yep.
you
I
may
actually
want to take?
have a tub. It's
Mm-hmm.
my Airbnb tub. It has
Okay.
my. I have frying pans specifically that go with me and all my spices, and I get some nice olive oil, and I got a couple knives. Like
Great
it's funny,
idea.
I have a go like
Yeah.
if Marie and I had to like leave in like 10 minutes, I just grab that tub and we'd be out the door.
Yeah. Yeah, because
So
that's great because a lot of the expense of buying local is, well, you still need salt, you still need this, you still need
yeah,
that,
yeah.
and
And
oil.
I bring it
That's
all.
brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. And then and then few other like cooking things that I just throw into that one container.
Mm-hmm.
And this summer when we went away for quite a while, we actually, because COVID was, we really didn't know a lot about COVID, honestly, this summer. We brought a cooler as well
Yeah.
and just brought basically everything we needed. So we didn't even have to go grocery
Mm-hmm.
shopping. The one thing we were struggling with this summer was to find eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Just get eggs for breakfast pretty much every day.
Oh, interesting.
And but now that's not a problem.
Why was it hard to find eggs?
There was an egg shortage this
Oh,
summer, and
they're getting ready to make vaccine. Who knows?
I yeah, maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
The other thing, is obviously location, like scouting out your locations, because you want to be somewhere that's easy to number one to find somewhere to bike. I think
Mm-hmm.
number one, honestly, is to find places that have good roads to bike on. On the Facebook page a couple of weeks ago, one of the people was asking about biking out of La Jolla.
Mm,
It's
that's
That's a
congested.
horrible place to bike out of.
Yeah. Right.
Like, I purposely don't stay there
Yeah.
because I know it's a half hour of crummy roads,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 20 minutes crummy roads to get anywhere decent.
Mm-hmm.
And same down like if you go to like Ocean Beach, there's some cool
Yeah.
places down in Ocean Beach, but to get to an actual place you'd want to ride it's a little bit challenging. And then obviously swimming, right? If you want to swim in the ocean or swim in a lake, knowing where those are is important. And then, even with COVID now, like California was all the pools were closed again.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately it looks like they're all in San Diego, they're back open, but you need to have reservations and you only get 45 minutes per reservation.
Mm,
And so you got to plan ahead for that.
yeah.
You plan ahead for that. So a lot of it is planning ahead. The other thing I do is when I plan my routes, either running not so much, but biking, is knowing the local wind,
Mm,
right? Like I'm not a glutton for punishment, and so I don't want to come home into a headwind.
yeah. Right.
I've done that too many times,
Mm,
and so just recognizing that. So when you build your routes, like, okay, I'm going to build a route so I come home with a tailwind.
yeah.
One of the things I really like to do when I do a training camp, and I won't probably do it now, but historically, especially when I go to California, is I bike one way and then I take the train the other way.
You told me that.
Uh,
That's a brilliant idea. Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite ride is to ride from Anaheim to San
Uh-huh.
Diego,
Oh, neat.
and then you take or even like Orange County or somewhere else in Orange County,
Yeah.
Irvine to San Diego.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of good routes I take, and you ride through Pendleton, and
Mm-hmm.
it's 100 miles, but when you go, as long as you know which way the wind is blowing, you always will get a tailwind if you
Mm-hmm.
plan it you plan it right.
Mm-hmm.
And 100 miles with a tailwind on the coast,
Yeah.
that's all right. And then you get on the train, like I know at 4:04 the train picks up in San Diego, and it's 2 hours back to Anaheim.
Yeah.
And yeah, especially around Christmas, that's a really good one because at 4 o'clock it starts to get dark. You're on the train,
Yeah.
and you're good.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then the Amtrak is about, I think it's like $22 or something like that
Oh, that's awesome.
to do it, and a lot of people do it. A
Mhm.
lot of people, like, you get on, and there's a lot of bikers usually on it. I
Mm.
will tell you, if you're ever going to do it, you need to have a reservation for your bike,
Oh, okay.
but it's free for a reservation for your bike.
Mhm.
So that's another pro tip for a training camp.
All right, so let's talk about the training part now.
Yeah.
Obviously, you just mentioned biking like that, but how do you approach? You've talked about your TSS. You talked about limiting 20%, but how do you approach your day-to-day training? Like, how do you maximize the use of that time?
Well, I think the first thing to understand is just because you're on a training camp doesn't mean you're not human. And if you're not feeling like your legs are hurting, or you still have to listen to your body.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, especially I've heard horror stories of people actually doing training camps where they pay $2,500 for the week,
Mm-hmm.
right? And on day 3, they recognize, oh man, there's something wrong with my hamstring, but hey, I paid $2,500. I'm going to
Yeah,
keep going.
that's right.
So number one thing is recognize your own limitations. And the other thing is that one of the reasons I like to do my own is because I've also heard that these come into race camps where everyone wants to show everyone else how good they are.
Yeah.
And when you're by yourself, well, I guess everybody on Strava can see what you're
Yeah.
doing, but it's different, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I approach it, for me, it's bike centric, because I cover way more ground on a bike and I spend a lot more percentage of time, because I'm looking at, like, in a week doing 250 to 300 miles on the bike.
That's great.
And as far as percentage of time, that's a big part of it. So I try and build my week around the bike, and
Mm-hmm.
then fill in with the run. So I will, for example, this time I will have a big bike ride. So we'll get there on Saturday. Won't do anything on Saturday. Um, Bike on Sunday. Then on Monday, do a swim run. Tuesday, another big bike. Wednesday, day off. Thursday, probably bike run.
Mm-hmm.
Friday, maybe swim run, and then probably 2 more big bike rides on Saturday, and maybe big bike on Saturday, and then maybe something on Sunday before we leave.
Okay.
But
So you said 2 bikes on Saturday, so you double up?
no, sorry. Did I say 2? Just 1.
Okay.
Another big one on.
Yep.
And big can be not long. Big can
Mhm.
be, at FTP 3 times 20.
Right.
Right? Or maybe an hour time trial. There's this little
Mhm.
circuit that I know. Our mutual friend Chris Thornham showed me this time trial circuit through Rancho Santa Fe. That's awesome. There's no lights. There's all right hand turns, and so big's relative, but it's
Mhm.
still like building TSS, right?
Yep.
Like you can still have a TSS of like 120 or 130, and it's a significant
Yep.
day. And then I think you build the bike first, and then you fit in the running. This time, because of St. George and St. George's hilly run, I'm going to try to build some good hills into my running.
Mm.
And I've been doing that even here. Like almost all my runs this last 3 weeks have been hilly runs.
Which course is the St. George using? Is it the same course as the last 70.3?
I think
Or
so.
that split one?
Yeah, I don't know. What do you mean by split?
Where you go up and you have two arms. You go up, down and back one, come back and go down and back the other, and then back around.
I think that's, I don't know if that's the one they're doing. I think they're doing the circle one, or the
Oh, okay, okay.
circle, so you go down and
Yeah, yeah,
back. Either way, it's hilly.
yeah, yeah, it is.
So, and one of the things that for me that is hard to do is I'm not good at running downhill. I've never been good at running downhill.
Hmm.
And it's hard to train running downhill
Yeah, it is.
because I mean, it beats you up. I know people are like, oh man, I made it to the top of the hill and I get to run down. If you're trying to run fast down,
Hmm.
it's hard, and you got to build that up. And especially in a course like that, where like the last 4K or 5K are downhill, that's where you're going to cramp, and that's where you're going to lock up. If you're
Well,
not,
when we look at muscle damage research, the way to induce muscle damage is to do a downhill run.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
that's
You're
the,
right. You look at any of the protocols, right?
yeah.
I can remember reading one. It was a 30K downhill run to
Oh,
induce muscle damage. I'm like, yeah, that would do it.
that will do it. Well, that's like, what's the Revel run up in Mount Charleston?
Exactly.
That'd tear you up. Mm,
But the thing is that you can train your body.
yeah.
Right? Like I think even like the Revel race series with all the downhill runs, there's people that train it and your body will adapt. And that's I've been actually really focused lately on looking at ways to adapt my body in different,
Hmm.
to have different stimuli,
Yeah. Right.
right? Like we just talked about like the duathlon running
Hmm.
and hills and trail running, and because we have to apply new stimuli to adapt.
It's the Hans Selye stress adaptation model. You've
Oh,
got
yeah.
to, you apply a stress, you're able to adapt, and then you give yourself enough, but you need to have that recovery to see that adaptation. So,
But even still, like if you do the same thing, let's say I had 1,000 TSS, which is pretty high, like per week, and I maintained that week after week after week after week,
hmm.
and I did the same thing every day, every week. Like every Monday, I did this. I wouldn't get any better.
No.
My body would adapt to that,
Hmm.
and whatever speed I was going at, I would be really good at that,
Yeah.
right? And so I like to even think of some of these training camps as like that adapting to something different.
Hmm.
The other thing that happens when you go to California, and you've probably experienced this, is your power output goes up quite significantly
Mm.
for your heart rate.
Mm.
So, even like this summer, I went for this crazy KOM. Levi Leipheimer had it,
Hmm.
and it was a 20-minute climb.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, I'm going all in. And I posted my best number of the year.
Yeah.
It was at sea level.
Yeah. Right.
Right. I've never been even within 20 watts of that,
Huh.
but it was at sea level.
Yeah.
And so then you could look at that and say, okay, what physiologically is going to happen when I train at sea level?
Hmm.
And, I know my cardiovascular system is not going to respond the same.
Hmm.
So, what does that mean for me?
Right.
And when you start to understand the physiology of it, you can take advantage of that and actually maybe do some higher power stuff that is more for once again, your neurologic system, like your legs, where your heart and your lungs are not going to respond the same.
Hmm.
So then the limiter becomes something different.
Yeah.
So, and I did one training camp where I stayed at Duck Creek.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's like 8,500 feet.
Yeah.
And I stayed there for a week. And a lot of my training was up in like Cedar Breaks, like at 10,000 feet.
Hmm.
And once again, like understanding the limitations, like I didn't go hard when I was there because I couldn't, right?
Oh, right.
I'm at like, what was it? 60, 70% of FTP and my heart rate is through the roof.
Hmm.
But understanding what adaptations you can have. And I totally would go do something like an altitude like that, camp like that again. I'd like to do it longer. So, the research shows that, 14 days is kind of where the sweet spot
Yeah.
for
And
adaptations.
diving into the research there a little bit, you're best if you can live high,
Yep.
but then train low. So if you can be at a high elevation for just your day to day, but then pop down to low elevation to do that training like you're talking about doing in, at sea level, you have a very different experience than trying to train at the high elevation where you end up going slower simply because you don't have
But
the oxygen that you can process.
and really what it is it's the what you can do is you can do that polarized training if you did that.
Yeah.
Or when you're at the high level, you do your zone 1 and zone 2.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter, right? But then you drive down and you do anything of intensity at the low.
Mm-hmm.
So my understanding is there's people that live in Park City, they do this all the time,
Oh, really?
where they live there at like 6,500, 7,000 feet. And then anytime they want to do anything intense, they go down to Salt Lake City and they do
Okay.
intervals and stuff down there.
Mm-hmm.
And they're getting the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
we're kind of opposite here. We should be living at Mount Charleston
That's right.
and then coming down here to train.
Mhm.
Instead, what do? I go up to Mount Charleston to
That's
train.
right. Or you do it several times in one day.
Exactly.
Hey, okay, let's switch gears a little bit.
Yep.
Talk about the gear that you take.
Oh, that's a good question. So there's been first of all, bikes, right?
Mhm.
I can't decide which bike to take.
Oh, okay.
I'm really having a
You
hard.
you can only take one?
Well, my wife, I want to bring her bike
Okay.
because she's coming for the week, and so that we can bring 2 bikes in the car, but
Mhm.
2 is kind of the limit.
Yeah.
So I would prefer to have my road bike because
Mhm.
especially when you're somewhere you're not familiar with,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's more comfortable.
Mhm.
I do want to climb Palomar. I don't know if you've ever been down there
No.
and not Palomar, but it's like Alpe d'Huez of Southern California. It's
Oh, okay.
spectacular. I did it last summer on my time trial bike, and I kept thinking, man, this would be so good on my road bike.
Mm.
But I'm like 6 weeks out from St. George, and I have not been on my time trial bike enough.
Yeah.
So so anyways, I still am undecided on that. So definitely bring a bike, obviously, two pairs of cycling shoes. When I'm doing that many miles, I like to switch.
Is it the same model, same
Nope.
brand, or?
Nope, different model,
Oh,
different brand. I actually have too many pairs of cycling shoes. I've probably 3 that I kind of rotate through right now.
Okay.
And so I like to have at least 2 different pairs.
Mhm.
I can never find a shoe that just is perfect.
Yeah,
And so
right.
one will give me a little bit of a sore foot this
Mm.
way. One will give me a little bit of a sore foot this way. So I like to switch that.
Interesting.
But this time of year, as far as clothing,
Mhm.
it's pretty easy. In the winter, it's a significant challenge because
Yeah.
you get going at like 6:37 in the morning, maybe on the bike. You need some winter gear down in Southern
Mhm.
California even. But this time of year, I'll look ahead, the weather, but I don't even need any like rain gear or anything
Yeah,
this time
right.
of year. So that's pretty easy. But I also, I bring enough cycling clothes and running clothes that I don't have to do a wash.
Mm.
Even though there's a washer and dryer there, I just, 4 pairs of cycling shorts and then 4 jerseys or 5 jerseys. And same with the running stuff. Just because that stuff, when you pack it, it gets so small.
Yeah,
Like
right.
I put it into stuff sacks, right? Like
That's
my
how I do it too. Yeah.
it's all my cycling
Yep.
stuff. It's in a
Yep.
stuff sack. It ends up taking about this much
Yep.
space.
Your bike bag, your swim bag, and your run bag. So
That's exactly what I do. Then for the running, I only bring 1 pair of running shoes I'm going to run in because I'm kind of into the shoes I'm in right now, and I'm completely happy with those shoes. So 1 pair of running shoes, like I said, just the clothes, like running clothes, 4 sets. Then for swimming, it's interesting, right? Like in the winter, I wouldn't bring my wetsuit because I'm not jumping in the Pacific
right.
in December. I'm going to bring my wetsuit and I'll tempt it.
Hmm.
It may only be 10 minutes.
What's the water temp down there at this point?
Well, you've done Oceanside in April,
Yeah.
so 57 to
Okay.
60.
Take your neoprene cap.
good idea, except I don't have one.
You don't have one.
No, I'm embarrassed to say I don't have one.
Yeah, right.
But but there is a spot in Coronado where you can swim inside the bay. It's
Yeah.
usually a little bit warmer. We swam there in May and it was like 65.
Okay.
So, and usually doesn't change too much.
If you're under 60 degrees, I wear a neoprene cap.
Yeah.
And it does really take the edge off it, because it is a sensation type of thing. So there would be neoprene cap. You can pick one up down there.
Yeah, I could probably pick one up before, even like on Amazon, and get it shipped here. It's a good idea. So the problem is that Marie will not swim in the ocean when it's that cold.
Oh, okay.
And she'll want to swim.
All right.
So, we'll figure it out. But I at least want to get one ocean swim in, just because I know St. George water is going to be cold, and then if I do rage, it's going to be cold.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually think it's good to train in cold water when you can, from time to time. Not all the time, but from time to time. So I'll bring that, and then I'll bring my swim gear because we'll swim in some pools. Bring my paddles and my buoy, and just
the only thing about swimming open water, especially in a new area, is the safety of your gear when you're not while you're swimming. And so what I actually have done when I was traveling a lot, I would take a padlock with me because some open beaches have lockers that you can lock your stuff up. So I would just keep a padlock with my swim bag. Whenever I packed it for a trip, I throw the lock in there and lock it up.
Yeah. So in San Diego, the San Diego Triathlon Club has regular swims at La Jolla.
Yeah.
And I've met up with them when I've been down there, and they actually just have there's one lifeguard stand that they keep all their stuff at, and the lifeguard kind of watches their stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think it's like Tuesday, Thursday at 5 p.m. is their swim time, or 4 p.m. or something like that. But you're absolutely right. Now, fortunately for me, because Marie doesn't like to swim in the open water, I just give her my bag, and she kind of keeps an eye on me. And sometimes she'll jump in with me if it's not too cold. But you're right, though. That's something you got to watch out for.
How about electronics? Are you taking her in reach?
Man, no. Because I'm not going to be anywhere that I've actually let the subscription go right now.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to be anywhere that I don't have cell coverage. Yeah. Especially Southern California, even like in the hills and stuff. You've got you've got that. But as far as electronics, it's John, it's a mess. I've got so many cables, and
it's crazy.
We always bring our I recognize I need to bring my Roku stick to like plug into the TV wherever I go. So I get my own Netflix and my own Hulu and stuff like that. And then, got to bring a computer because you got to know your routes and you got to do your mapping and figure out stuff. So you bring a computer and then an iPad because you never know. And historically, I've always brought my kicker as well because I've been in race leagues. But fortunately, the race league the main race league I was in, the last week was this week. It ended on Tuesday, and the next league doesn't start out till April 7th or something like that. So I don't think I'm going to bring the kicker this time unless I look at the weather and it's going to be really rainy. Then I might bring that.
Okay.
Then of course, you got to have your Garmin, your bike computer and its charger, your watch and its charger. Now I got the Form goggles and their charger. Actually, they last a long time. But honestly, I have a checklist of all the chargers I gotta bring, or I don't have to bring, but I want to have.
Sure.
And then you got to have the right heart rate monitors.
Yeah.
Because now I'm using the running one that has the running metrics.
Yep.
And then I have one for biking, and it's a mess.
It is, yeah. And, we always try to remember to throw in a power strip when we travel too. So
I bring one of those little three-prongers.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And usually I bring an extension cord too.
Yep. So in my trailer, I actually built a charging station. So I have a special cupboard that has multiple plugs in there, And then I can put all my electronic stuff up in there, close the cupboard, as opposed to having it all out on the counter and just all over the place. So, what I,
Are you going to buy a bunch of like wires too, or are you just going to leave it as USBs?
yeah, no, I'll have, like, that's a great idea, is I'll have all the wires there as well.
Yeah.
Or at least in a drawer, and I can pull from them, but it'll be dedicated to the trailer. Now, what I need to do, and what Laura and I talked about, is then build that same thing inside. Because right now we have all our charging happening on the counter, and it just looks terrible. So I said, okay, I will, once I get done with the trailer, which could be a while still, I will build an indoor charging station. So
I keep telling myself I'm going to drill a hole in my countertop.
yeah, right.
Why not?
Yeah,
Like it's going to be better than all the.
I know.
No, I think you're spot on with that. Yeah. So actually, in my Go tote, I actually have my travel cables.
Okay. And so your
I don't have like doubles of everything.
DI2 stuff as well, or do you not take that cable?
So I bring a toolkit.
In
my toolkit, I have my DI2 charger.
Okay.
Just in case. The DI2 lasts over a month usually.
Yeah. I charge mine just once a month.
Yeah. But I have I have an extra DI2 cable. Well, partly because I have 3 bikes that have DI2, and when you get a bike, you get it. But actually, this summer, this story, but we went away for 1 week and we didn't come back for 10. And after week 5, I didn't have any power left in my bike, so I had to overnight or Amazon a new charger.
Yeah.
So, which sucked because it was like $98 for a stupid.
Yeah.
I tell you, man, these companies with their proprietary plugs, and it's ridiculous. Like how much chargers and stuff like that cost. But
and then even the cables aren't even the same.
No,
even if it's the same connector, you can have drastically different performance on the cable. So yeah.
No, I ran into that. We were talking about this for work, but to replace a Wahoo Kicker charger, $50. And there's nothing special about it. You can go onto Amazon and find something that basically is similar, but it's not guaranteed that has the everything's perfect for $15. And it's frustrating, but I guess that's the price of doing business in the triathlon world these days.
Yeah, really. That's the add-ons there. All right, so let me go through the notes I've written here for training camp. Go with a focus. Avoid injuries, and these are just the main headings. Day-to-day planning. We've gone through that. Pick a location for training. Packing. Packing in the. How to pack in training during the camp. So recognize your limitation. Avoid racing during camp. Be bike centric. And then we went through gear. And then, you even mentioned the toolkit. Okay, let me go back over a couple others. So you also said
you gotta make sure that you have enough calories.
That's the one I wanted to go back because I didn't have that as a main one. So under my day-to-day planning, I have 1 day of nothing, so a rest day.
Yeah.
Avoid adding in other activities besides training. Get the calories in. Yeah. Training, nutrition, and then regular meals.
And the other thing is, and I've actually read this on some other blogs of people that have do this and coach this. This is not a time to lose weight. Like you should not be having a big week of overtraining, because that's all I'm going to be overreaching. Yeah. Overreaching is not the time to lose weight, because you're already stressing your body. Yeah. Like you should end the week, in my experience, you should end the week at the same weight you started the week. You want to lose weight. You do that in the off season. You do it, slowly with a plan. It's not go to this training camp and because you're training all the time, you're maybe not too hungry and starve yourself and not recognize that, I need to eat more because I'm training more. Right. I think that is actually a mistake that I've seen like people write about and talk about on different podcasts is, athletes that, they'll lose 4 or 5 pounds
Yeah.
in the week, and it's not a good time to do it.
Well, I think the phrase I've been hearing more people use now, which I really like, is energy availability.
Yep.
Because you do need that energy to be able to train well,
Yep.
get that stress, and then let the body adapt.
Yep. And I also think this is not a time for fasted training.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's a lot of people are into fasted training. I think there's a time for fasted training, but not when you're overreaching.
Yeah, right.
And remember, like, a training camp is overreaching. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this will be one of the biggest weeks of the year as far as like volume of training. And that's not time to do it. And on a normal week, if I want to do a ride or a run fasted, okay. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's a purpose to that. And we do know that, we will utilize free fatty acids better for a certain amount of time when we do that. But I don't think that a training camp is the time to do it, at least not this focus. Now, maybe my winter focus,
Right.
in the off season, different, but this is like race prep
Mm-hmm.
For a race that's 6 weeks away. And I actually think racing, like when you're 6 weeks away, that's the most important time.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people focus on that last 3-4 weeks, 5, or maybe 2-3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
The gains are made now.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the way I look at it.
You gotta build up so you can taper.
Yeah, and so you can get to the start line healthy. And we've talked about that many times. Like, get to the start line healthy. So now, even like, let's say I pick up something like a little hamstring or calf or whatever, and I'm 6 weeks out, I can do something about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I'm 2 weeks out, you really don't have much option or many options. So.
Well, I love this. This is fun. This is neat to get a little insight on how you approach your training camps, and I'm always impressed in seeing what you're doing, and love to see that you build in the travel at the same time. I know you don't take in other sites, but at the same time, it's neat to get to a different place.
Well, the thing is, I do take in the sites. I just do it on my bike.
That's right.
Like, it's so weird. I know San Diego so well from the bike.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I know that this bike path goes to this road and they can get over to here. And I don't know how to drive there because I just use the Waze or Google Maps. Yeah. But on my bike, man, I can get around. I can get all the way from Oceanside all the way down to basically the border. Yep. And I know how to do it on my bike. And because that's probably my number one spot to go. Number two would be like the Irvine area. I used to talk about this of where I've been and where I'd go again. Irvine's got some unbelievable biking, and people don't recognize it, but it's a really good place to bike. There's some great hills.
I was just gonna say, so you can get into the mountains right there, and
get in the mountain, and then you can be right along the coast as well.
Okay.
And very good running in the Back Bay area, like Newport. Some great place to time trial in there. Santa Monica, Santa Monica. Oh, the hills oh my gosh, they're so amazing. Like, that's where Chris Froome spends his winter, and Gary Palmet.
Okay.
And if you follow them on Strava, amazing rides these guys do. They'll do like 15,000 feet of climbing in the Santa Monica Mountains and Santa Monica Hills. I've done training camps there. I went up to Solvang to training camp there, Santa Barbara. I mean, that's the fun thing, is you can go to all these different places.
Yeah, right.
San Luis Obispo, great place to train. Back in the day, U.S. Postal used to actually be their winter training camp was out of Solvang. Unbelievable climbing and hard stuff. Really windy up in there. So those are kind of like my spots. Yeah. And then this winter we went to Tucson, and Tucson was amazing. I'd go there again for sure. So, and I see, like you said, like, I don't do a lot of sightseeing, but I saw so much. Like, once again, I could be a tour guide in Tucson
Yeah, right.
but only on a bike.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, it's neat. You have fun and you're getting some great fitness,
Yep.
and it's a nice time to just focus on training.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. And like, we're really fortunate in the world of academia that, we do get some time to get away.
Yeah.
And I try and take advantage of that and try and reinvent myself a little bit
Mm-hmm.
and refresh myself. So when I get back to work,
Yep.
ready to roll.
Well, it's
But
great stories for students too. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure, for
All
sure.
right. So you taking it easy this weekend or not yet?
No, this is the final week of 3 weeks of building.
Okay.
So I got 2 runs tomorrow and a swim and 4 or 5 hour bike ride on Sunday,
Mm,
and then a easy week starts on
good.
Monday.
Good.
So how about you?
I'm gonna try to just do some easy training this weekend. It's been a tough week for me, so I'm just gonna try not to get hurt. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, Sunday's supposed to be beautiful, so maybe
yeah.
just get out and get some miles in, just
Mm-hmm.
chill. You know, I'm actually we've been struggling with the weekends being so windy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And tomorrow's supposed to be really windy as well.
Hmm.
So I'm really looking forward to an actual Sunday where I'm not stuck inside 4 hours on the trainer. I can actually get out but then again, we're not in Minnesota
That's
or
right.
in
Texas or
Canada.
yeah.
I was actually thinking about even St. George. I wonder how
Yeah.
many people get into St. George to race that haven't really been outside much,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and even like that late, like into May, maybe they got a month.
Mm-hmm.
Because like even if you lived in Salt Lake City, I don't know how much outdoor stuff you're doing yet.
My son's up in Logan, and the weather, he gets snow, and then it will melt, and then it snows again, and it will melt again, and so it's just a back
Yeah,
and forth. So because
yeah,
of where they are.
yeah. And then fingers are still crossed that it's going to happen. St. George is going to happen. I
Yeah.
think it
Yeah.
will.
Yeah. I think St. George has probably the highest probability of happening.
Well, the Galveston is in April. I think that's 100% chance that's going to happen now.
Yeah. Right. With the governor's changed.
Yeah. So I have a friend that's doing that, and she was like, I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm like, after this week, I'm like, I'm pretty sure you're racing.
Yeah, I think any Texas race or Florida race, you've got a high probability. But outside that, I think St. George. We've got Hawaii 70.3. I don't know.
That's gonna be tough I think it might just be tough to get to, right? Like, I don't know
Yeah.
what the restrictions are on like quarantining and that
Hmm.
could change.
The
Yeah.
rules seem to be changing all the time, so it's hard to keep up with.
I think California is gonna be one of the latest. I'm even thinking about like, because I'm racing, supposed to race in California in October, Ironman California. And
Hmm.
I'm like, I don't even know if that's gonna,
Yeah.
that's a long way off. But
Yeah.
knock on wood for St. George.
That's right. Well, we're gonna still take charge of the year and still do what we can. So,
Yeah, exactly.
well, this has been great, Ted. Good
Yeah.
talking.
Okay.
Good
We'll
stuff.
talk next Friday.
All right.
I'll be all packed up.
I was just gonna say, will you still be in town?
Yeah, we're gonna leave on Saturday morning. So
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. All right. Talk to
All
you
right.
later.
Okay, bye, John.
All right. Bye.